Irsan remained calm as the judge read the sentence, death by execution.
Josue Flores was murdered last Tuesday on his way home from school.
The men confessed to shooting the teen execution style.
There was some satanic type activity taking place.
Officers tell us Trujillo stabbed her boyfriend with stiletto heel shoes.
2-year-old Riley Ann Sawyer's brutal killing shocked the nation. She was beaten to death, stuffed in a plastic box found by a fisherman in Galveston Bay.
Former NFL player Antonio Armstrong Sr. and his wife, Dawn Armstrong, were murdered.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Antonio Armstrong Jr., guilty.
One by one, they described the deaths of the alleged other 8 victims of the convicted rail car killer.
Do you still carry parts of this case around with you?
I always will. There's places I go and I'll think of parts of this case. I'll think of some of these people.
And I hope God will give that bitch, that devil, that will give that devil kidney failure. No, not kidney, liver failure. So she can know what pain is. And when she go to God, that she goes straight to hell. Be punished for every suffering that my family has suffered. If God help me and get out, everybody that hurts me will pay the price.
I don't want to die now. I'm not going to die. I don't want to die.
County 911 reporting advised husband's been shot.
Good? Okay. All right. All right, here we go.
It's 1:30 in the morning and her mom's at the door, and I knew immediately what had happened, and I knew who was responsible for what had happened.
To think that somebody could be that evil and do that to a human being just because he loved a girl. You know, he fell in love, a couple. And yeah, I'll always carry that. I'm James Doucet, and I'm a sergeant with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and I was the lead investigator on the Ali Irsan capital murder case.
I heard 3 shots.
She probably saw who killed her.
I can't believe that she's gone.
She was beautiful, smart, courageous, and a very vocal champion of human rights.
They're not ruling out the possibility that Iran itself could be behind the murder.
Shot dead in her car just steps from her Houston home, 30-year-old Gelareh Bagherzadeh died from a single gunshot wound to the head. Whoever killed her took nothing, left nothing, and disappeared, at least for 10 months.
We received a call on a Monday afternoon, it was in November, of a young man that had been found dead inside his apartment.
He was just a very sweet young man.
Victim number 2, 28-year-old Cody Beavers, not only knew victim number 1, Cody's twin brother Corey was dating Gelareh Bagherzadeh, and Cody's wife, Nesreen, was Gelareh's best friend. They were a tight foursome. Only 2 of them are now dead, with no official suspects.
was called out to the scene at 10801 Legacy Park Drive. It was an apartment complex. And a young man had been found shot inside an apartment complex, inside the apartment by his wife. And her name was Nezreen Irsan at that time. When I walked in the apartment, we had the young man that had been shot multiple times laying on the floor inside the living area. And there was signs that there had been a struggle. There was like a one-bedroom apartment. His wife come home from work, and witnesses said they heard her crying, and she was screaming frantically.
I don't want to live anymore, ma'am.
You're going to make it through this, okay?
Yeah,
You've got to
that's
get
what I want, Mom.
Okay. It's going to be okay. We have multiple units pulling up, okay? They're going to be there in just a second.
Oh, my God. Why did God do this to me?
God wasn't the one that did it.
Oh, my God.
Spoke with her in my car, recorded that interview, and she said that her words I'll never forget. Because I asked her, I said, Nezreen, you're coming across like you know who's responsible for this. And she said, Sergeant Duce, I have a lot to tell you if you'll listen to me. And I said, Nezreen, as long as it takes, I'm going to listen to you. And so we left there and went to our headquarters at Lockwood, 601 Lockwood, and we went to an interview room and we spent all night. She told me that it was her father, Ali Irsan, that was responsible. And she started telling me the story of how she had ran away from home to get away from him. He was very controlling, and that she had met Cody Beavers while she was attending school at MD Anderson, and that she had made the decision to run away from home, was living with him and his mother, and that Ali Irsan had been looking for them. They'd been searching for them for a while.
You're speaking to an actual adult here, telling you that she decided to run away from home.
She described that there were 12 kids in all, and that some of them were in diapers. That the adults, it was her and her sister, she had a couple of brothers, and that her father was a very devout Muslim, is the way that she described him, and that he would not let them date, wouldn't let them socialize with other kids away from home. And she said that she described times at school when she wasn't allowed to wear makeup. She would go to school, she'd have friends that would loan her makeup. They would let her put that on at school, and that she'd have to take it off before she got home.
So she got tired of the control?
She did. She did.
Did Nezreen that night point blank say, my father did this?
She did, yes. She said that he had been looking for them. They knew that he had been going to the neighborhood where they were living with Cody's mother, and he had been asking neighbors where they were.
During that interview, did she mention Gelareh?
She did. She said that her friend had been murdered earlier in the year, and that she told me about Corey Beavers, and she told me the story. She said that she had met Gelareh while they were attending school, and that they became friends. And she told me that Gelareh and her family had come here from Iran, and they converted to Christianity, and that Gelareh supported her in what she was trying to do to get away from Ali Irsan and his way of life. And she first liked Corey Beavers, and he's like, well, I've got a girlfriend, but he introduced her to Cody, his brother, his twin brother.
Was Ali angry at Gelareh for supporting her efforts to live a, I guess, more free life?
Yes. From what she explained to me, Ali Irsan, when he learned about Gelareh, he contacted her. He wanted her to help him find his daughter, Nezreen. He wanted her to tell him where she was at, and she would not do that. And basically told him he needed to leave her alone, and he didn't like that at all. And from what I'm understanding, he told her he would get her. He intended on doing a home invasion. He wanted to kill all of them. He wanted to kill Cody, Corey, Shirley McCormick, which was the mother, Nezreen, and Gelareh while they were in that house. That was his intent.
The reason you wanted to do this on the phone is you don't want to give any tip-off as to where you or other family members may possibly be located, correct?
Exactly, yeah. Like, I don't even want them to know what we look like. You know, it's been more than 10 years, so we've changed the way we look. I don't want them to have any indication, you know, any idea of what we look like or anything like that.
One of the things when I was talking with Sergeant Doucet is at one point, Irsan's plan was to attack the entire family. I'm sure you know about that. Like, they actually walked the culvert behind your home.
At that time, we knew that he was trying to get Nezreen and bring her back home. What we didn't know was to what extent he was willing to go to make that happen. So while, like, you know, we saw them outside of our house, and every now and then, I think like somebody had thrown a rock at our window several times from that culvert. We didn't ever go out to go look to see who it was, but we assumed it was them. But even at that time, like, we didn't think that it was going to go this far. For me, it didn't really click until the night that Cody was killed. And the moment that my mom showed up at the door to tell me that somebody had killed my brother, the first thing I said is, like, you know, I think it was, he also killed Gelareh. I know it was him. And then, you know, a couple other words. But my mom, ever since, she suspected it was him when Gelareh was killed. So there was, you know, that 10 months in between there. She always suspected that he was involved in Gelareh's murder. But I was trying to figure out the motive. Like, why go after Gelareh? It didn't make a whole lot of sense. Her and Nezreen weren't really that good of friends. So why would he target her? And then, you know, 10 months later, it happens to my brother, and then everything kind of fell into place.
So she knew what was coming and what was possible.
Absolutely. From what they described, she and Cody were both aware, and they were trying their best to hide from him and survive.
That must have been a really powerful love, to endure that type of life, just to be together.
Whatever time they could spend together, they were always together. In the very beginning of their relationship, when we were all going to the same school, Cody would go up to the school and he would just hang out at the university like all day, even though he wasn't going to school there, just so he could see Nezreen in between classes and at lunch. And then we'd all go home together. And so he did that a lot. So he was very, very in love with her, and she was very in love with him.
I mean, they were so happy. I mean, they said that was the first time she'd ever celebrated Halloween. And you could see there was a song there that she sang on a video on there about Cody, and you could just see the love in their eyes. And it's kind of heartbreaking, you know, to see that and to know what happened. This is a easement behind the apartment complex where Cody Beavers was murdered. And from what I understand, Ali Irsan would sometimes drive on this, and he would knock out some of the boards of the fence so that he could go in and stalk Cody and Nezreen.
So he figured out the complex where they were living, but he didn't know the unit number.
That's correct, he didn't. And he, from what we found out, he did some canvassing. He and probably at least his nephew, Ahmed Garcia, and they would go in and knock on doors and ask people, and they'd offer money for information of where Cody Beavers lived.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So they offered people money?
Correct. They did that here, and they did that in Spring. And there were people, they'd offer, there was a lady who was a single mother. He offered her a child seat and cash money for information.
So that was Ahmed's role in this, the cousin?
Correct.
He basically helped Ali canvass the area to find?
Whatever Ali wanted him to do, he would be a part of that, yes.
They must have really loved each other to have lived under that kind of fear.
Yeah, they were head over heels in love with one another. I've told this story to a lot of people, but I remember like several times because they couldn't obviously see each other except for like when it was in secret.
She described that she was working at MD Anderson. She would leave early in the morning, like around 6, and Cody would walk her down to their vehicle. They would park away from the apartment that they lived in. They'd park away from that. They carried a pistol, and she would keep that pistol in her purse, and then she would drive him back to the apartment building that they lived in and let him out. He would go upstairs, and he was supposed to text her once he was safe inside. And that morning, she never got the text from him. From what Nazreen said, they had one key to the apartment. She had that key. And so he'd have to leave that apartment unlocked, walk her to the car, and I believe, from what I saw, I believe that Ali Irsan and Nassim entered that apartment and they hid. From what I was told, they first hid in a bathroom, and then they moved to the bedroom.
They just ambushed the man.
And waited for him to come back in.
At what point were you able to start going, okay, Gelareh and Cody are tied together?
Once I got Nazreen's story, once I got all the information that she provided, I contacted the Houston Police Department and met with their investigator who had handled Gelareh's homicide. We started comparing notes, and there was a whole lot of similarities. And my first step, I wanted to learn about Ali Irsan. I wanted to get in his world so that I could find out what he had been doing, what his means were, what he had to operate with. I wanted a search warrant. There was a detective from Montgomery County, Clay Swilling, who knew Ali Irsan. He had worked some of the cases. Ali Irsan, when he was looking for Nazreen, he would file criminal reports on her, saying that she had, he claimed that she tried to kill him at one point. He had filed a report on that. Any time that he could make a report trying to find her and make her come forward to answer for those allegations. And so Clay Swilling had worked a lot of those cases, and he knew Ali. He had a rapport with him. The morning that we were going to run a search warrant, the first search warrant, Clay contacted Irsan and asked him to come to their substation in East Montgomery County, and we were there waiting. And so we met with him, and that's the one and only time that I was able to interview Ali Irsan.
What was that like?
He tried to come across just as Nazreen said. Nazreen had said he'll come across as the loving, caring father who's just concerned about his daughter. And that was his whole motive, was that he was caring about his daughter. And it was true. He come across like that. He
Did you buy it?
Not at all. Not at all. I asked him for his DNA sample, and he was very concerned about that.
When you're looking into his eyes, what were you thinking?
I saw evil in his eyes. Just knowing what I knew from what Nazreen had told me and what I saw that he was capable of doing, that was an evil person, I could tell. And he was very cunning, very, this is a person that has been evil for a long time, and you could tell that.
What was it about him that gave that away to you?
The way he carried himself, the way that he, he thought he was fooling us. He thought he could talk his way out of what we knew. And you could tell there's a gut feeling that you get when you deal with somebody as a law enforcement officer, and those red flags were jumping all over the place with him.
He was engaged in quite a bit of fraud, as I understand it.
He was. A lot of narcotics, a lot of prescription medications, guns. We found people he was buying and selling guns with. I think that, and the fraud was unbelievable, the amount of fraud that was there. I mean, Nazreen described that he had like 8 mailboxes at his house, and that he would get a Social Security check at each one of those mailboxes. And I remember when we first visited his home, and we saw all those mailboxes, and he had an older child that had I believe it was cerebral palsy, and they had filed a lawsuit against a pharmacy company because of that. And she described when they would travel out of town to Jordan, they would put suitcases inside of other suitcases, and they claim it had been lost, and they would file a claim against the airline. I mean, there were just so many different ways they would commit fraud.
You had Gelareh murdered in January and Cody murdered in November.
Yes.
Why do you think there was such a long time in between?
I think during that time, Ali Irsan was looking for them. He spent that time stalking them and trying to find out where they were. And he was active. He was active during that time.
When it came to Gelareh's murder, Ali didn't actually pull the trigger, did he?
No, he did not. From what I was told, he got cold feet. And he was in the car, ready to do that. He was in the front passenger side of the car. He got cold feet. And so Nassim got out of the back seat of the car, approached Gelareh's vehicle, and shot her through the passenger window. Fired 2 shots, from what I understand.
I intended to call you after iftar because I know you're fasting and you probably needed a cigarette and you were very upset and very...
That's interesting. What is going on? What do you need?
I'm sorry, Nassim?
I said, that's interesting. What do you need?
This is what you talk, how you talk to your dad?
I have no family. No, my family is going to be the ones in jail.
Nassim, listen to me, baby.
I'm a very, very bad man. I'm very bad. I don't know how many lives have to be lost.
Nassim, listen to me, baby.
I'm dangerous.
I need you, Nassim.
I'm a very, very dangerous man. That's all I can say.
Because you beat your brother, it's okay. He's younger than you,
No. God knows. God knows. It's from the World War II.
Listen to me. Listen to me. We need you. We need you. You are the man of the house. You are my man.
There's few people that knew, and now they can't speak.
Do you think that Nassim was controlled by his father, or do you think Nassim did this willingly?
I think Nassim did it willingly. There were things that he had done before this that Ali had punished him for. He got caught putting sugar in a gas tank, and I think he got charged by Montgomery County with that. And Ali had beat him, from what I understand. And so I think that his behavior was already there. The capability, he, like I said, Ali wanted him to be part of that, yes. But he made a conscious decision. It's obvious that it was in him to do what he did when he got out and shot Gelareh. And I think that was the true Nassim coming out. I mean, he wanted to be a thug. He wanted to be a gangster.
Nasim Irsan's capital murder charge dismissed in exchange for pleading guilty to murder and going to prison for 40 years for the 2012 killing of Gelareh Bagherzadeh, his sister's best friend.
The evidence would have been different. There were witnesses who would cooperate in Ali Irsan's trial that would not have been able to testify or would not testify per their agreements in this trial.
Prosecutors say Ali Irsan was angered that his daughter Nisreen left the Muslim faith because she was influenced by Bagherzadeh, who introduced her to Cody Beavers, the Christian man she eventually married. They say Irsan believed that killing the people his daughter loved was the only way to erase the shame she brought upon her family and restore honor. Nasim Irsan and his family, according to prosecutors, all played a role in Bagherzadeh's death.
Well, I think it was apparent from the beginning, and also they spent weeks trying Ali Irsan's case. I think it was apparent to them that he was a master manipulator.
Let's go back to, so Montgomery County, you get his DNA. You said that was huge. Why was that huge?
It was, because anytime that you're able to obtain a possible suspect's DNA helps in comparing with evidence that's obtained at the scene. There were several vehicles on his property, and in one of the vehicles we found a box full of wigs, female wigs. Later on, DNA would connect those to Ali Irsan. And during our canvass of the complex, the apartment complex where Cody was murdered, we spoke with people who described people coming to their doors asking questions about where Cody lived. And one lady looked through the peephole and she said it looked like a female with long hair. And it was our belief that they were using those wigs as disguise to canvass those properties.
Early Thursday morning, only Local 2 Investigates was there. Mr. Irsan, did you kill Gelareh Bagherzadeh?
No, sir.
56-year-old Ali Irsan is now charged with a high-profile murder and his rural Montgomery County home raided by federal agents and local police. Irsan is accused of murdering 30-year-old Gelareh Bagherzadeh.
I can't believe that she's gone.
In January 2012, Bagherzadeh was shot and killed near Houston's Gelareh. Today's arrest was part of a coordinated law enforcement action involving multiple raids in Montgomery County. At least a half dozen agencies, including the FBI, combed several properties today, also arresting Irsan's wife and another daughter. They're facing unrelated fraud charges, according to a source.
I requested help from FBI personnel, and they were very helpful in this case. And like I said, it was an ongoing case at that point. And I got contacted that their surveillance were able to find Nasim and Niall climbing on the roof like they thought they had a hidden compartment. So we obtained another search warrant.
What'd you find?
There were 2 GPS units found that they had hidden in the attic underneath that roof. We were able to take that to the FBI lab, digital lab. They were able to get it back working, and that actually tracked Irsan's travel on the morning of Cody Beavers' murder. It tracked his travel from his home to here at the scene.
We saw that in evidence. They had the pinpoints where the little red dots were, so that was from the GPS.
Yes, sir. So that same morning after the murder.
Reason for the stop you doing 79 back there. Any reason why you're going so fast?
No, I'm diabetic and I felt my sugar going down a little bit.
All right. Do you have your driver's license on you? What type of diabetic are you?
When I start shaking when I get my sugar low.
Right, but what type of diabetic are you?
Type 2.
Type what?
Type 2.
Type 2. Is that your wife in the car?
Yes.
Okay. How come you're not letting her drive if you think your blood sugar's coming down?
I thought I would just get to the gas station, get me some soda.
And that trooper, had no idea what had happened, didn't know who he was. And Irsan was so nervous, he just knew he had been caught. He couldn't even stand up. He went to his knees.
Well, I think he claimed he was diabetic.
Yes, sir. When the trooper asked him, are you okay? Make sure he's okay. So he was diabetic. He needed a soda to be able to equal his sugar. Nassim was in the back seat of that car. We were able to contact that trooper, and he identified Nassim in a photo array. That was who was in the back seat of that car.
Who's the woman?
That would have been Shamu.
That was Shamu. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
She got out of the passenger side and went around to drive, and but that trooper never knew there was possibly 2 murder weapons in the back seat of that car, at least.
You're going to receive a warning for your violations. You need to get your front license plate put on there. You need to get your inspection done, and you need to slow down. All right.
So Shamu was with them.
Yes, sir.
When Cody was killed.
She was. Shamu was Ali Irsan's wife. She was his second wife. And he had brought her here from Jordan. She was 15 years old, and they got married. And they'd had several kids together, and from what she told us, he was still wanting to have kids, and wanted to have as many as he could. And she was actually with them during both murders.
During Gelareh's murder as well?
Yes, sir.
Did she admit to all that?
She did.
Did she testify against Irsan?
She did, yes.
Did she get a deal?
She did.
Did Ali enlist the entire family's help with these murders?
Everyone that was old enough to be part of or to do any research, yes. He had another daughter named Nadia. And from what I was told, Nadia was Daddy's girl. And that when they would go to school, when she and Nesreen would go to school, the fact that Nesreen had a boyfriend and going against Ali's wishes, Nadia would hold that against her. And she would tell Ali things that Nesreen was doing, and she would be punished for that. He had an older daughter, Nassima, and a beautiful girl. And she married back in the 90s against Ali's will, and it was a friend of Ali's. They were both Muslim. The problem I understood was that that person was a Shiite Muslim, and that Irsan was a Sunni. He hated him. He was an Iranian. And while Irsan was out of town, they got married, and that upset Irsan. And ultimately that wound up where he allegedly shot that person inside his home and killed him.
Whatever happened with that?
From what I was told, Ali told the sheriff's office that it was self-defense, that the person had brought a gun there, and that Ali defended himself with a shotgun. And I was told that Irsan was proud of what he had done. He took that sofa that had the victim's blood on it, put it in the front yard, and he would stand out and drink his coffee. And when neighbors would pass by, he would smile. And it's like he had control. You know, look what I did. I'm gonna control what happens with my family.
Prosecutor John Stevenson said that redemption, in the eyes of 62-year-old Ali Irsan, comes through killing everyone surrounding his daughter, Nesreen Irsan. Prosecutors said Irsan was angry that his daughter brought shame to his Muslim family when she started dating a Christian man. Prosecutors said Irsan, along with his second wife and son, killed Nesreen's husband, Cody Beavers, as well as his daughter's best friend, MD Anderson cancer researcher Gelareh Bagherzadeh, in 2012. Prosecutors said they also planned to kill Nesreen.
This isn't an attack on the Muslim religion. This is one man and one family's extremist views.
What was the motive ultimately behind these two murders?
The motive that I understand, Ali Irsan was a devout Muslim, and the fact that his daughter had left his home and married a white Christian male, it hurt his honor, and he had to defend that. From what I understand from people I've talked to, I've never been a Muslim. I don't know a lot about their faith, but I have met a lot of Muslim people since working this case, And they described Ali Irsan as a person that was hiding behind that faith to do the crimes that he was doing. And, you know, I've been told that Muslim people would not have done what he did. And there's a lot of good people out there that are Muslim that said that's not what they believe in. They don't believe in doing what he did.
So to me, the argument that he targeted Gelareh because it was Gelareh's influence on his daughter that made her leave home, that doesn't really work out on the timeline because Nisreen had already left home before her and Gelareh even became friends. So I think that he was trying to send a warning with Gelareh to Nisreen that she would be next.
We've waited for over 6 years for justice for Gelareh and for Cody.
That justice came in the form of a guilty verdict for 60-year-old Ali Irsan, convicted Thursday of capital murder for the 2012 killings of his son-in-law, Cody Beavers, and Gelareh Bagherzadeh, a friend of Irsan's daughter. It was an outcome that produced mixed but strong emotions for family and friends of the two victims.
We're sad and excited. It's been hard for all of us. But it's a good day, and we look forward to the rest of the process.
Did you feel that you had to go into hiding, change the way that you operated in terms of just your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I mean, safety for all of us became a major concern. I mean, there was fear for years because we knew who was responsible. And at this point, as far as, you know, from what we understood, that there were probably three victims at this point, including, you know, the first son-in-law as well. We knew all this, and so we were afraid of it. But, you know, to get law enforcement and the justice system to start rolling to get this person off the streets, it's a very long process.
I feel like we accomplished what we set out to do in finding the truth and bringing this person to justice. He's an evil man. His son is an evil individual. And I feel like we've accomplished what we set out. It's fulfilling. And there's not a lot of days that don't go by that I don't think about it. I mean, it crosses my mind. And I think about Cody, I think about these victims. And I don't know of a good homicide investigator that doesn't happen to. And so that does cross my mind, but it lets me know this person's sitting in a cage somewhere and he will be brought to justice.
Irsan remained calm as the judge read the sentence, death by execution. Several jurors, though, were fighting back tears. Then Cody Beavers' mother took the stand to make a statement. She called her son's murder and that of Gelareh Bagherzadeh the acts of an evil coward, and the verdict a victory.
Ali Irsan is now on death row awaiting an execution date. His son Nassim was sentenced to 40 years in prison but will be eligible for parole in the year 2035. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. We're back next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. on KPRC2+ with the case of David Temple, who murdered his 8.5-month pregnant wife. For everyone on the KPRC2 Investigates team, I'm Robert Arnold. We'll see you next week.